Hey everybody, and welcome back to Make Insurance Simple, the home and auto guide and course to your basic insurance coverage from home, auto. We've talked now about property and liability coverage, so I can use those terms. We've got an introduction going. We're all set to go, and we're ready for really the heart of our course. The next two videos are thick with tons of great information. I'm going to make it as fun as I possibly can, make it as interesting as I possibly can, and make it something that you can learn from and walk away really understanding your auto and your home insurance. And today we're going to dig right into your auto policy. So I'm going to give you all the information you need on your auto policy and the stuff that comes in it. So let's get right to it. Let's talk about what we'll learn. So we're ready for the first of two main course videos. We've been talking about this, main course. This one's the meaty, the auto policy, and we're going to dig right into it, and that is your auto policy. The second is your homeowner's policy, and we'll dig into that in the same way. The things you're going to learn inside of this policy, the first part of this video has to do with at-fault versus not at-fault states or no-fault states. You got to know what state you're in to know what kind of insurance policy you have, and then I'll break off into two separate videos on the two topics. So if you want to pay attention to at-fault, I've got that ready for you. If you want to do no fault or not at fault, then I'll have a separate video for that so you don't have to listen to all the at fault stuff. So don't worry, I'll get you to where you need to go. On both of those policies, we're going to talk about auto property coverage, coverage for your stuff, and auto liability coverage, coverage for bad things that happen to other people. And we'll probably cover some other super important stuff as well. I guess we'll find out, won't we? All right. We examined, let's review. Let's review what we did last time, what we've been building to this video, really. And last video was the foundation, was the key parts, the two basic parts that every auto policy, home policy coverage is made up of. And property coverage is that first one, and that indeed is coverage for your stuff. And then liability coverage is the next one. That tends to be the one that's a little harder to understand, and that is protection if bad things happen to others because of you. Not just on your own property, but out in the world as well, as we talked about. And of course, I strongly suggested that you dig up your actual home and auto policies and have them next to you right now. It has never been more important to have your policy in front of you than it is in the auto video and then the homeowner's video after this one. So if you don't have your auto policy in front of you right now, the deck pages, then definitely stop the video, go get those deck pages and have them ready so you can understand these things I'm talking about as they relate actually to your auto policy and then your homeowner's policy, because that's what matters, right? I'll start off with the same disclaimer that I started off on the other videos, and I got to just say it again. This course is meant to provide very general advice. I am in no way confirming details about your specific insurance policy. Those conversations should happen between you and your insurance advisor. I am teaching you the basics of how home and auto insurance works, and the actual details of your policy. Hopefully you have it there and you're looking at them, but then you need to talk with your company or your advisor to find out the actual details. Okay, fun little historical fact. I haven't gotten to history very much in these courses because I want to kind of stay focused on coverage and how the policies work, but this is a little bit of history. The first auto insurance policy was put into place in 1897. So that was early on in the auto industry. And it was by a company that you've probably heard of. The company that provided that policy was Travelers Insurance Company. So that company is still around today. So, two of the older companies, Lloyd's of London, which is really the oldest insurance company ever, still around, started in the 1600s. Travelers Insurance, much younger than Lloyd's, but has been around for a really long time as well, and was the company that put the first auto policy into place. So fun little fact there. Okay, let's dig into at-fault versus no-fault states. Auto insurance is based on the state you're in and the laws in that state. And the states are divided up into two different kinds of coverage, at-fault coverage or no-fault coverage. And they're very different. And knowing the difference is what we're about to do right now. So let's start with at-fault states. This is the kind of coverage that's been around for the longest, and it's what a lot of states have. In these states, fault is determined in accidents. So when you're in an accident, the police come out and they take a look at the situation and decide whose fault the accident was, and that's a driver in how the insurance claim goes on from there. The insurance policy on the vehicle that was at fault is responsible for all property damage and liabilities, which generally tend to be injuries, for the whole accident. So if you're driving along and you stop at a stop sign and someone stops behind you and then the person behind them doesn't stop at all and hits the car behind you and then that car hits you, all of the liabilities there and all of the property damage are on the car in the back of that line because that car is at fault in the accident. So that's at fault states. Okay, well then no fault states, maybe this will be obvious to you, but in these states, fault is not a primary factor. So that same accident, you stopped at a stop sign, someone else stopped behind you, someone else didn't stop, ran into the car behind you, then that car ran into you. Every single car, their policy is going to cover for their damage. And any injuries that happened inside of each given car are going to be paid for by that car owner's policy. So everybody covers their own damages. The damage and injuries of each involved party are paid for by their own insurance policy, regardless of whose fault it is. So why the difference? I mean, that is the first question I asked as I was coming to understand this. What's the difference? And the answer was fascinating to me. The no-fault states are doing it for a very specific reason, and that is to try to avoid all those ambulance-chasing personal injury lawyers. Well, why is that? In at-fault states, liability is a major part of the process. Someone hurt you by hitting you, their car hit your car, you're injured, and so the personal injury attorneys want to get as much money as possible. In no-fault states, the laws really make it so you cannot sue in the way that you can sue in at-fault states, and so it's to avoid the lawsuits. Because you pay for your own injuries and property damage, there are just way fewer lawsuits. So no-fault states are trying to avoid all the litigation and the lawsuits that happen, because of personal injury attorneys. That's why no-faults exist. No-fault states exist, excuse me. However, almost everyone can agree, at least I know I agree, that the at-fault approach is more fair in general. I mean, if I'm hit by someone else and I was just sitting at a stoplight, the fact that I have to pay my insurance and then my insurance premiums are going to go up and all that kind of stuff, that just seems crummy to me. And I would imagine you agree. And at the same time, I understand, what they're trying to avoid there, and it makes sense. So, at-fault states versus no-fault states. Currently, 38 states are at-fault states, set up as at-fault states, and 12 states, do the math there, that adds up to 50, are no-fault states. What are the differences there? No-fault states include the ones I have put below here: Florida, Hawaii, Kansas, Kentucky, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, New Jersey, New York, North Dakota, Pennsylvania, and last but not least, Utah. So those are the no-fault states. And then I'm going to read off all of the no, just kidding. I'm not going to do that. At-fault states are everybody else. If you weren't a no-fault state that I just described, you are an at-fault state. So now you know, are you an at-fault state or are you a no-fault state? It's a driver for where we're going to go from here. What's your next step? Are you going to head over to the at-fault video that is right below this one in the auto module? Or are you going to go to the no-fault video, which is right below the at-fault video? Either one of those videos are great. We're happy to have you there. You get to choose your own adventure from this point. Move on to the video that fits you best, either the at-fault or the no-fault. If you want to watch them both, then great, awesome. Enjoy. We'll see you over there.